Welcome back to Rewitched, a charmed 1998 rewatch journey. I'm your host, Jess Sabanko, and I can't wait to share my thoughts on one of my favorite shows with you. Though episodes are now shorter, I will still be keeping them spoiler-free and welcome fans, new and old, to join me on my journey here and on social media at Rewitched_pod on Instagram and TikTok. Currently, I'm on season 5. So this week we're talking about season 5, episode 7, Sympathy for the Demon. This one is the return of my favorite villain, Barbas. One of my favorite things about him as a villain that we see throughout this episode is I feel like so frequently in the show we see demons whose like major fixation is either gaining power or like just having this cockiness that leads to them getting vanquished. But for Barbas, his only drive in life is revenge, which like I really like, and I like how the show plays into that and displays it multiple times throughout the episode. I also really like the idea of him up against Cole and putting Cole into this role of the innocent, especially when the biggest thing has been like Cole's evil and that's never gonna change. And I think this episode is heartbreaking for the reason that that's not necessarily true, but the show is forcing it to be true. But before I kind of make those broad statements, let's talk about the episode itself. So we start out with Cole having these hallucinations that people know he's evil, which leads to him then seeing other people as demons and in his mind using his powers against them. But then in the final moment of it, he's in his office, he sees Phoebe there, and she's brought him the final divorce papers and like says he's evil and he's never gonna change. And he strangles her just like he did a couple episodes ago, but then realizes it's actually his secretary and he really did hurt her. And now he's like freaking out that something's really wrong with him, someone's messing with his mind, and he decides to go to the sisters. As for the sisters and what each of their setup for the episode is, so Phoebe is starting to date a new guy who never gets a name throughout this episode, which I thought was really interesting. So she's on her third date with him and he's talking about like how this is going to be the date when they kiss. As for Paige, she's starting to relive some old insecurities about not living up to being like Prue. She has been practicing Prue's animal conjuring spell, which she's not able to get right. Then Leo comes up to her and like kind of says that it took Prue a little while, and she says that, you know, like Prue was a full-time worker, she was a badass witch, and like Paige is feeling really inadequate and it's really been coming up for her the last few days, which we obviously later find out is because Barbas has been whispering in her ear, kind of making those insecurities, those fears come up to the surface. As for Piper, she's like doing really well. She's finally past the morning sickness stage of her pregnancy and like having this really optimistic attitude until she sees a spider and totally flips out and makes Leo get rid of it. And it's kind of like, of course, like every time something's going well for me, the other shoe always drops, like having this really set in idea of like she can never have good things in her life. So just when she's like, no, like this wasn't it, like it's just a bad omen, she's like, something bad's gonna happen, and that's when Cole appears and she's like, see, I told you. And he tells them about what he thinks is going on. So they decide to go to Phoebe and kind of talk about it while Leo goes to check with the elders and see like who might be doing this to Cole, what demon is powerful enough to be playing with his mind like this. So they go to P3 where Phoebe is on her date. Piper kind of gets her to come to the back room where Cole and Paige are waiting. He explains the situation. And at first, like Phoebe is almost about to be sympathetic, but then we see Barbas appear and kind of like whispering in her ear that Cole's just like playing tricks to get her back. And like, it's not her problem. She's like setting this really solid boundary, which, you know, in a situation where people's lives aren't on the line, this might actually be a healthy boundary. But in this case, like, it's obviously dangerous that she's saying like, no, like I'm setting a line. We're not helping you with anything. It's not our fucking problem. Like you deal with this on your own, which is really dangerous because Cole's really dangerous and Phoebe knows this. And Piper and Paige are like about to argue, but Phoebe's not hearing it. She leaves. She goes back to her date, and then Piper and Paige are talking at the bar, and at first Piper is on Paige's side, but then Barbas is whispering in her ear that like, you know, Cole's gonna bring danger into their lives, like she doesn't need to do this, like getting her against Paige, kind of getting the sisters to play against each other, and then preying on the idea that Paige is always the odd one out, that it's always 2 against 1 and she's always the one. So then we see later on that Paige is back at the house and Leo shows up, and there's actually this really funny scene where he's like, yeah, the elders said they don't like know anything of a demon who is strong enough to like fuck with Cole's mind. And she's like, oh wow, like the elders don't know anything, shocker. And I was like, yes, thank you, like someone is calling it out because they're so fucking useless. But anyway, so then Leo's kind of like, you know, like as your white lighter, like I'd tell you to follow your instincts and like keep pursuing this, but like as your brother-in-law, like don't go against your sisters. And she's like, thanks, like that's really helpful. But Paige does decide to keep working on it. She gets the idea from Barbas to strip Cole's powers. So then she goes to his house where he again is totally like sweaty, disgusting, like freaking out, and when she comes in, thinks she's a demon and is about to attack her. And again, she hits him and snaps him out of it, and he's like, oh my god, like Paige, I'm so sorry, like what's wrong with me? And she's like, you have to like take this power stripping potion like Phoebe did for you before, like that's the only way to keep you from hurting anyone, including Phoebe. And then Barbas is there whispering in his ear that like he needs to protect Phoebe, like his greatest fear, even more so than being evil, is hurting her. So he takes it, and when he takes it, he like is in pain, passes out on the floor, and then his powers come out of his body and go into Barbas, who corporealizes. Before this, we saw Barbas in this volcano in Purgatory talking with this other demon about how like they have this plan to get free. He taught Barbas how to project himself into the real world, and Barbas is then going to use his power to free both of them from Purgatory once he can get to the sisters. Once he's out, Cole is immediately freaking out. He's like, oh my god, like it's Barbas, he's the demon of fear, whatever. He's like, yeah, now I have so much more power. And he throws Cole through the window with an energy ball. And then Paige, of course, takes him to the manor where, because he's not evil anymore, Leo's able to heal him because he's finally good. Piper is freaking out. She's like, of course you like summoned the one demon we can't vanquish. Like, couldn't it have been Andrus or Shax or someone we could actually like vanquish? And that's when, of course, Paige is just apologizing, and the sisters are like, you should have listened to us. Like, we're not mad that you made a mistake. We're mad that you don't listen, things like that. And there's, again, that 2 against 1 as Paige continuously apologizes. And then it's actually Cole who stands up for her and says that, you know, like, she had good intentions. They shouldn't be so hard on her. Which on one hand, I think is a little bit him speaking about himself, because I think throughout this season, overall, Cole's intentions have been good, but of course his powers and part of him are evil, which is why it can never fully play out. And Leo mentions that like this is really coming from the heart for Cole here, who is being supportive of Paige, who he's never been supportive of before, because like now he's good, right? So he sees the good in her the same way he wants them all to see the good in him. But then Phoebe's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, it's too late. So they realize that, like, if he's not there already to get his revenge, he's probably plotting to take over the underworld, which of course he is doing. They have the same, like, group of demons at the Source's old house, Cole's house, at this meeting table where the other demon has him, like, talking about getting power. And then he vanquishes the demon who says he doesn't have any power. They're all willing to stand behind him. But then Phoebe decides that she's going to astral project to him to summon him to the house so that they can trap him in a crystal cage like the Source and use that spell to vanquish him, because she's the only one who's already conquered her fear of losing a sister, so she's the one who should meet up with Barbas. She does it. She's kind of mocking him in front of all the demons, who he vanquishes all of them except the guy from before, and then he goes into their trap, right? Even though the guy tells him it's very clearly a trap. They do the vanquishing spell. It doesn't work. He seals up all the windows as bricks. This is after Cole and Leo have orbed out, because Paige has said that Cole isn't innocent now, so they're gone. And the sisters are all trapped in the house. There's no way out. They can't orb out. No one can orb in. And their fears are starting to come. We see Piper getting attacked by spiders. We see Paige claustrophobic. The walls are closing in on her. We see Phoebe, her date from earlier, appears saying that he's evil and that's why she likes him, but Phoebe doesn't fall for it. She punches him. The illusion disappears. She convinces her sisters to get rid of the illusions as well. But then Leo comes upstairs all disheveled, saying that him and Cole had just orbed back in right before the bricks came up, and that he needs Piper to come with him back to Cole. So they go downstairs. It's all obviously a trick to get the sisters separated. while Paige and Phoebe go to work on the potion. Phoebe starts seeing Barbas in Paige's place when she asks for an ingredient, starts beating the shit out of what she thinks is Barbas but is actually Paige, until eventually Barbas goads her into stabbing Paige, and that's when it turns back into Paige. She realizes what she's done. We realize Phoebe's new greatest fear is that she's evil, because it would take an evil person to be so desperate for revenge that they kill their own sister. Then we see Piper downstairs. She sees this memory of herself as a little girl on the night her father left, where it was her birthday. He came to surprise her. A demon attacks him and Grams to get into this whole fight where he's saying as long as evil's in their lives, they'll never find true happiness. And that, of course, breaks Piper's heart. And Barbas is goading her, saying that this trauma is going to continue on to her daughter. She starts hysterically crying. We then go upstairs where Phoebe's hysterically crying about killing Paige. She's calling for Leo. She's calling for Piper. Nothing happens. Barbas picks up the knife that she killed Paige with, is about to stab her when he blows up. Piper's there. And Piper says, oh, playing into the fears of an expectant mother? It was good, but not that good. He, of course, reappears, and we see, because she conquered her fear, a little piece of the bricks have disappeared from the window. She starts telling Phoebe that Phoebe has to conquer her fear in order to get Leo back so they can heal Paige. So Phoebe brings up that she's afraid that she's evil. And Piper's like, no, you don't have an evil bone in your body. I've known you your entire life. Something we've seen before. We saw this earlier when Phoebe turned into the Woogie. She had that same fear that deep down she's evil. And the same thing when we saw her past life, right? So this is something that's not new to Phoebe. But again, Piper immediately shutting down. Phoebe's like, but, and she's like, no. And then when Phoebe accepts it, we see all the bricks come down. Leo and Cole come in. They save Paige. And then they realize that the only way to get rid of the powers is to put them back into Cole, who's saying he's not ready. He's finally good, but he has to do it not for him, but for, of course, Phoebe. And there's this moment where they look at each other. Barbas comes in. They all get knocked over. The potion gets knocked to the ground. And he puts up this force field. He now has full control of his powers. He's even vanquished his little lackey from before. And as he's about to kill Paige, they're saying how she can orbit and throw the potion at him still. And she's like, no, it's shattered on the floor. And they say that Prue did it, because we did see Prue do that for the first time in season 1 with the Grimlocks. And so that's when Barbas kind of mocks her. He's like, oh, but you're no Prue. And she does it. And that's when he falls to his knees. The power goes back into Cole. He tries to summon an energy ball after the force field has dropped. And of course, Cole summons one, vanquishes Barbas. My bae is dead forever, I guess. The sisters then go to each other. Phoebe is hugging Paige. Piper is standing next to Leo. Cole's on his own. He looks at Phoebe and then looks down and teleports out. We then have our closing scenes where we see Phoebe now on her 4th date, kind of bringing up the fact that she's not afraid. She's not nervous anymore. They finally kiss. And it seems like things are going well. She's kind of forgiven herself. Maybe she's not afraid of, dating someone evil, not trusting her own instincts. So we have that coming up, which also came up a few episodes ago in the fairy tale episode for her. We then see Piper and Leo talking, and she's laughing, and he's like, oh, aren't you afraid if you're too happy, things are gonna go wrong? And she says, you know what, things always go wrong, but then they turn out okay again, so I'm not afraid anymore. And he brings up that he's worried about Paige because she had been, feeling really left out. And she kind of says Paige will be fine, and kisses him, which a little dismissive. I didn't particularly like that, but then we do see that Paige back at the manor has finally figured out the conjuring spell and does get a dove to appear, seems really happy, closes the book. So she's achieved that goal where she no longer is feeling inadequate, right? And I think that overall, this is a really, really good episode. I really loved it. It made me feel a lot for all of the characters. Obviously, again, rehashing what their fears are, how their fears have changed over the years was really cool. And then just again, really feeling a lot of sympathy for Cole, which I guess with sympathy for the demon is exactly what they wanted. And I really do wonder where his storyline is going. I wonder for Phoebe, is she gonna find a real new love interest? Is that what this is the beginning of, or is this a one-shot kind of guy? I mean, I don't even know his name. And then of course, Paige, getting stronger as a witch, Piper being in this happier place. I think we have some positives as well as kind of that sadness at the end of the episode. But yeah, that's it for this one. Hope you'll join me back next time.